Now we're staying with Tottenham because they won their latest pre-season friendly in Singapore earlier today by 5-1 against local side Lion City Sailors. Now the Singaporeans went in front in the first half before Harry Kane equalised from the penalty spot. Richarlison scored a hat-trick no less, and Giovanni Lo Celso, yes, he's still there. Giovanni Lo Celso completed the scoring for Tottenham. Now, Chris Cowlin is in Singapore and doing special live editions of his podcast, the Spurs Chat podcast through the tour. I'm pretty certain he recorded the last one about an hour and 15 minutes ago. So if you didn't catch it live, you'll probably be able to download it from the usual podcast places very soon. And he told me that it was good to see Spurs' £60 million striker among the goals.
Yeah, Richarlison, I think it was really good for his confidence getting a hat-trick this evening. But let's be honest and frank about it and realistic. Lion City Sailors are the equivalent of playing like a League Two side or a Vauxhall Conference side. So we're not going to get too carried away. But overall, it was good fitness for the Tottenham Hotspur players. But overall, during this pre-season tour so far to 3 countries, Australia, Thailand and Singapore, the likes of Heung-min Son have only got 45 minutes in the legs. Harry Kane, 90 minutes. So overall, it was very disappointing not to play that Leicester game in Thailand because of the monsoon. Of course, we went there in monsoon season. But I think Ange Postecoglou has used this time to, try and work with the players and do his very best. And, I've been to 3 training sessions, 1 in each country, and I can certainly see what he's trying to do. It is all about attack. It is entertaining football. We saw that in the West Ham game. I don't think we could really go on today's game. But yeah, overall, it's been okay.
So from a kind of football preparation point of view, these matches against what you're describing as essentially non-league teams, probably not the best preparation. It doesn't feel like Spurs have kind of advanced today by playing this game in preparation for the start of the Premier League season.
It was meant to be Roma, Nick, and a couple of weeks ago, Roma very sadly pulled out. So that would have been a real good test for Spurs. And I think that the starting 11, certainly in the second half, might have been different because Postecoglou, again, like he did in Australia, changed the whole 11 players at half time. So I think that would have been very different. But, fair play to the club and fair play to the club in Singapore for filling in because, people have been travelling all around the world to watch these types of games, including myself. So it was good to see a game here. But the level of the team could have been far better.
It's a little dull to ask about Harry Kane, but as you've seen him play, his body language. I mean, I imagine his every frown and every time he touches his face, he's scrutinised. But what is your sense from him, from what you've seen with the naked eye? You're in a great position to have actually been able to see him there. What do you get anything, or is he, because he's such a pro, is he just being Harry Kane?
Nick, that is exactly the answer I was going to give you. I'm sorry to be so boring and sit on the fence here. Harry Kane is a true professional, so he's not going to give anything away. Of course, Spurs fans want Harry Kane to stay. And of course, we want him to stay beyond the expiry of his contract, which of course is next summer. But Spurs should be showing real ambition in this transfer window. And firstly, the Harry Kane situation be, first on the agenda. And I would be extremely surprised if before this pre-season tour that Ange Postecoglou, Daniel Levy and other board members didn't sit down with Harry Kane and just ask the direct questions. Do you want to be here? Do you want to be sold? Because there's no point players like Harry Kane coming on this tour, trying to work with Ange Postecoglou and try and, get his system working the way that he wants it to, for then Harry Kane to leave when we get home. We've got another couple of friendlies coming up, so I'm sure Harry Kane will be involved in those. But there is so much speculation about Harry Kane's future. But I think all of us Spurs fans would be far happier if Harry Kane come out publicly and said, really looking forward to the season starting at Tottenham.
And of course, there is other work for Tottenham to do in the transfer window. There's an awful lot of chat about centre-backs. And of course, if Kane were to leave, then Tottenham would be in a far stronger position to go and buy the kind of centre-backs that, dare I say, they are in desperate need of. Were they to know that money, if they don't know whether the Kane money is going to be there or not, then they're presumably hedging their bets. So the whole process gets kind of gummed up by this insecurity.
Well, I think really, Nick, if Spurs want to be back in the Champions League and get any form of European football for the following season, we need to be keeping Harry Kane. We need to be showing real ambition in this transfer window and going out and buying two quality centre backs as well. In the game against West Ham in Australia, and certainly tonight we conceded another goal this evening. The defence really needs to be looked at. We shipped 63 goals last year, and we've got the same defence. And the Premier League season for Spurs, I think, is 18 days away. So we need players in fast as soon as possible. Going forward, we know that we can create chances. We created an absolute hatful today. I know the opposition wasn't great, but an absolute hatful against West Ham, which was really, really entertaining stuff in that game. And it was a real plus. And it's really nice to see that type of football, because we've seen, such drab football in these last few years under different managers, win-now managers, I might add. So it's nice that Postecoglou has got that style, but the transfer window, we need to show ambition if we want European football again, and certainly to keep the likes of Harry Kane at the club.
With all this attacking football, are you at all concerned that the way that he sets his teams up are going to be kind of meat and drink to Premier League teams? Quite a lot of Premier League teams love to get attacked because they'll just, the very best teams will just pick you off. I don't mean to sort of pour cold water on this fantastic attacking football, but is there somewhere inside you a little bit of concern, or are you Ange Ball positive in every respect?
Nick, I said exactly the same earlier. It's okay being super positive about, attractive football that we've all been missing, but you've got to be realistic about it. We could be going back to the Ozzy Ardiles days of 94-95 season, Klinsmann, Sheringham and co up front, and a very poor defence. And, we're winning games and losing games like 4-3, 6-2, 6-3 and so on. So the Premier League is extremely tough, and Postecoglou's been successful everywhere he's gone, but the Premier League is completely different. It's the best league in the world, as we all know. So this is why it needs to be underlined. The centre-back reinforcements are absolutely key. They are massive signings, and it must be right. Key decisions must be absolutely correct here, and we need to go out and sign real quality.
Just on the attacking front, seeing Richarlison score a hat-trick, it's obviously great for him, given the difficulties he's had. Does he look as though he's playing with less weight on his shoulders because last season was so difficult? It's a new manager, it's a new approach, it's an attacking approach. Is it possible that we'll actually see the player that Tottenham did sign a year ago, that player still exists in there somewhere?
I certainly hope so. I've seen him in training, 3 times, as I said, and, some wonderful finishes in training. And I'm so glad for him personally with his confidence. I know that, we've spoke about the quality of opposition this evening, but for confidence for him, he got the Man of the Match award today as well from the organisers, and that would do him the world of good. So going into the new season, of course, we've got 2 friendlies before the Brentford game. So hopefully he'll get more minutes, and hopefully he can get a few more goals, because it was a poor season for him last season by his standards.
I just want to ask you about the 39th game again, because back here and in America, where a lot of British teams are playing currently, there's a lot of chat about how, it would be amazing if they could play a Premier League game in America. And so this has kind of come to the surface again, as it does, because everyone's playing in different places. I don't know if this has cropped up in Singapore, but has there been much chat about that? Because again, I'm sure places like America, Australia, the Far East would love to have the 39th game. It does appear to be re-emerging. I wonder whether you'd heard about it where you are.
I haven't, Nick, no. But talking about pre-season friendlies, I remember the good old days of playing like Oxford and Colchester and Swindon and so on. And now all of these friendlies and these tournaments and these cup competitions during pre-season are all in countries like this. But I think that the planning of some of these pre-seasons need to be better, because it was winter in Australia, so it was heavy rain, that West Ham game. Monsoon season in Thailand, which of course the game didn't go ahead. That was terrible weather there. It's been very, very nice here in Singapore the last few days, but they have had a lot of rain. So, but we were planning a stadium today with a roof, which was good. But I think that they certainly need to look at the of where they play these games in the future.
Yeah, if they do end up playing a 39th game and it gets called off because of a monsoon, I don't even want to think about how badly that's going to go. And just finally, Chris, been great chatting to you. Thank you for your time. The Joe Lewis story has obviously made a lot of news here. There's a lot of chat about it and the way it may impact Tottenham. What is the sense of it in Singapore at the moment, where the team are?
Well, I don't think it's going to impact Tottenham whatsoever because he hasn't been the owner since October. There was a restructure at the football club and the shares were transferred to the family trust. So Joe Lewis is now not connected to the club whatsoever. And from what I understand, there's no impact. It will have no impact on the team or the club going forward, which is good news.
That's Chris Cowlin, who is in Singapore watching Tottenham. He was good enough to give us his time shortly before recording his podcast, in fact, doing a live version of his podcast, the Spurs Chat podcast, which I believe is available. You can download it as well. So many thanks to Chris. Dealt with a number of issues there, the 39th game, Joe Lewis, various other bits and bobs as well. Just to let you know how it's all... There is a lot of football taking place involving London's Premier League teams in the next 24 hours, or involving London's Premier League teams in, say, the 48 hours starting at lunchtime. None of it is taking place in this city. None of it is taking place in this country. Tottenham against Lion City Tailors was at 12:30 in Singapore. Then at 10:30 tonight, Brentford take on Brighton in Atlanta. We're going to go to Atlanta very shortly. But the fun continues overnight. And there are people that you know, that I know, who may be depriving themselves of sleep so they can watch some of these matches. At midnight,